OMG, she won't shut up about the pumpkin stuff. Sure, I've mentioned it several times over the years, so much so that longtime viewers might be over it already, but I figured I had to dedicate an actual art piece to the delicious dish known as pumpkin fluff, and that will finally be the end of that. Or will it? Anywho, I'm Irene and I'm an autumn lover, so get ready for a whole lot of brown. The tools and supplies are as follows. Just gotta access my notes. I recently lost the scroll function on my mouse, the one I've been using for many years, and now I have to go back to the old way of clicking and dragging the scroll bar on the window. It's so annoying. Okay, Artist Loft Level 2 Series Cold Press Watercolor Paper, a Faber-Castell Polychromos colored pencil in emerald green, a Faber-Castell fine liner from their Pitt Artist Pen series in sepia, several colors from my self-curated Fall Feels watercolor palette, raw umber, nickel quinacridone gold, and quinacridone rust. More items that will come into play later on are Holbein Artist Gouache and brushes from several Princeton series, specifically the Real Value, Select, and Neptune lines. Color mixing was done on several different ceramic palettes, one of which is actually some sort of serving dish. My brother found a couple at a thrift shop and gave me one. I love it. I switch between that plate and some other smaller dishes. It's nice to have options in shape and size. Just for the heck of it, let's go over the accoutrements that line the perimeter. There are a couple of dip pens that I'm putting off for future video. A small tube of hand cream that comes with the promise, I will make you smell like flowers. The original rough sketch pressuring me with middling expectations, a hefty tube of 60 ml, I am not kidding around, white gouache, a couple of mismatched yet aesthetically pleasing water jars, and a general air of artistic diffidence. Oh, don't worry, that's the normal state here at Inkworks. A genial mix of I can do it and why even try. Actually, that hand lotion is giving me strong Cabinet of Curiosities vibes. You know, the episode with the mysterious beauty cream. That's because my face currently looks like Stacy's after her allergic reaction. At least I know what brought my condition on. An overly affectionate cat with sub-80 grit sandpaper for a tongue. Yes, I went visiting the other day and got treated to a couple of homemade meals. Was it worth the second-degree abrasions? Yummy ham sandwich and spaghetti? Yes, it was. Oh, those light guidelines around the edge of the paper? That was to remind myself to allow for tape and border spacing. For nail polish, I dug out an old bottle and revived it with some nail lacquer thinner. It's a nice light tan shade from Wet n Wild called Yo Soy. Yeah, I like that color on my nails, but the name? They should have rethought that one. Kinda like how I should have rethought the placement of the pumpkin fluff ingredients. All that negative space. But yeah, I'm renaming that nail color from Yo Soy to More Cream Than Coffee. Speaking of coffee, I got the hookup. Good friend Gail gifted us with a nice bag of pumpkin-flavored coffee. But that's not all. She also slipped us 2 bottles of Torani pumpkin pie crack. I mean, sauce. But back to the design. It's not really a recipe, but rather a visual reminder of what goes into this dish, which is a can of pumpkin puree, a box of instant pudding. I like to use cheesecake flavor, a container of whipped topping, and some pumpkin pie spice. Yes, I did make a bowl full for Halloween, and yes, it was delicious, especially with some graham crackers to dip into it. Nilla wafers and ginger snaps are also good dippers for this. I should apologize for not uploading anything last week. I've done some projects and I have footage, but I wasn't kidding when I said I sometimes fall asleep at my computer. I'll be editing footage or writing a voiceover, and the next thing I know, I'm slumped over a drool-covered keyboard. That might explain some of the less sensical things I write. Sometimes it's just a matter of being busy, sure, but I'm gonna be honest. For the past couple of weeks, I was feeling kind of down, and that can affect production. Production. As if artists are machines. Yeah, YouTube stresses the importance of creating consistent content, but we're all human. Well, for now, at least. Who knows? Maybe down the road we'll see AI-generated YouTube channels. Wait, are we already there? Never mind. I don't want to know. The point is, I'm okay. Producer Mike is okay. And aside from being a little messy and disorganized, the studio is okay. Once I started brushing in the background, I wished I'd thought to go wet on wet to create a soft, mottled look instead of a streaky one. So, to distract from that lack of foresight, I added a bunch of splatter. First it was clear water, then it was each of the three watercolors. By the way, when I mentioned the Fall Feels watercolor palette earlier, repeat viewers might have been like, yeah, good times, whereas newbies might have been like, the what now? You can see what it was all about by following the link in the description. For now, I'll give you the too long didn't read version. 2 months ago, there was a 3-part series where I picked some of my favorite autumnal colors, and I assembled them into a seasonal watercolor palette. So when I refer to the Fall Feels palette, that's what I'm talking about. I wish I could say it's available for purchase at the low, low price of $59.99, but it's not. It was just me sweating at my table while squeezing paint from tubes and trying to fit as many half pans as possible into a used and dented travel tin, all the while mumbling, "Whose idea was this?" Since the pumpkin was a large mass, I used a 1/2-inch flat brush to fill in the space, and why I didn't just block it in with large swaths of paint, I couldn't say. For some reason, I had to be fussy about each section. As for the colors, my approach here was to go dark first, then lighten things up in subsequent layers. One of the things I like about gouache is the ability to paint areas of color as place markers. Like, I'll deal with you later, but since the brush is loaded with pumpkiny orange, I'll just unload some of it while I'm here. I suppose now would be a good time to mention how much I enjoy working with gouache, right? Oh, I do. It's loads of fun. But if you think each piece improves on the last, you'd be mistaken. But that's an artist issue, not a gouache one. While one painting might surprise and delight, the next one could seem like a step backwards. Like learning a foreign language. One day you think you've got the whole "Hola, Tomas, donde está" thing down. Then a week later, you're all, "Who's Tomas?" You all know what time it is? Well, yes, it is a good time to hit those like and subscribe buttons. That's true. But I was actually thinking along the lines of a brief musical interlude. Be back in 3 shakes of pumpkin pie spice. I don't recall which gouache colors I used, but they were all from the 12-tube set of Holbein Artist Gouache. To see what colors are in that set, just follow the link in the description. I'm really pleased with Holbein's Artist Gouache. I'd heard many good things about them, and now that I've experienced them, I can say that the reviews were right. The paints are packed with pigment, and although the tubes are only 5 mils, in this set at least, it looks like they'll last me for a while. That doesn't stop me from ogling the 24-tube set or the 4 Iridori sets, but yes, I've supplemented this set with a big tube of white because, as I was warned, that small 5 mil tube of white, yeah, it's all gone now. Since I use sugar-free instant pudding, the fluff isn't as decadent as you might think, and the canned pumpkin was an organic variety from Trader Joe's. So, actually, eating an entire bowl of this dessert may have extended my life. So what if it looks like hard-boiled eggs in the painting? Maybe they should add that to the official recipe. Eggs optional. So, as for instructions, all you do is dump the canned pumpkin puree into your bowl, add the instant pudding mix, and 2 teaspoons of pumpkin pie spice. Mix it with a hand mixer until well blended. Then fold in 8 ounces of whipped topping. You can do more or less depending on your taste. Chill for at least an hour and serve as a dip with cookies. Or drop a dollop onto a piece of cake. Or just grab a spoon and go at it. Pumpkin fluffing rules are nearly as loose as arting rules, so no worries there. Pumpkin fluffs of the past? I recall one time when I doubled the recipe and everyone was like, "No fluff for me." So we were stuck with massive amounts of the stuff. That's always the way, right? First, it's all, this is the best, make extra next year. Then it's, I'm on a diet. At least we had stuff to snack on between the trick-or-treaters, all 6 of them. Yeah, it was a very quiet Halloween. Quiet but delightful, since a few relatives and friends thoughtfully dropped in, bearing food and gifts. Last night was a breakfast for dinner night. We don't often get to enjoy a traditional breakfast, so occasionally our evening meal may consist of eggs, hash browns, and bacon. This time it was biscuits and gravy with eggs over easy. Well, I aimed for easy, but it turned out medium. I may be the bacon master, but producer Mike is the eggster extraordinaire because he makes scrambled eggs that are light and fluffy and fried eggs where the yolks have just the right amount of run. All delicious. Speaking of delicious things, Twining's Gingerbread Joy Tea. Have you heard of that one? I hadn't, or at least I don't recall having it before. But producer Mike picked up a box, and I tried it for the first time after breakfast for dinner. It was delightful. Normally, I'd try a new-to-me tea straight, but I happened to have some pumpkin pie syrup on hand, so I splashed a bit into my mug, and yum! You might be thinking, but Irene, in a previous video, you said it was pumpkin pie sauce. Well, that too. I've been a bit spoiled this season since I was gifted both the sauce and syrup versions of Torani's pumpkin flavorings. The sauce is the more yummy of the two, but the syrup has one advantage. It's in a much bigger glass bottle. So when I glug a lug, it looks as if I'm spiking my hot morning beverage. One can get a reputation doing stuff like that, and it doesn't help that I sometimes take a shot glass with me into the studio. Never mind that it's only creamer or sweetener. That's not to say I've never nudged my coffee, but booze ain't cheap, so that's a rare indulgence. Please excuse my ramblings. This painting isn't very complicated, so I don't have a whole lot to say regarding process and technique. The visuals pretty much speak for themselves, but I'm up for conversation, or soliloquizing, I guess is more apt. The danger with this is the tendency to become hypercritical about your work. I don't have to point out my mistakes. You can see for yourself what doesn't work. So I'm going to talk about Thanksgiving. It's appropriate since it's coming up soon, and this pumpkin fluff stuff is just as good in November as it is in October. So the other day, I was looking for a Thanksgiving-centric movie to watch, and I've already seen Trains, Planes, and Automobiles a zillion times. I ended up streaming Pieces of April. It's from 2003 and has Katie Holmes and Patricia Clarkson. It's the cliched dysfunctioning family, yes, but it felt a bit more realistic than some other holiday films that are more ha-ha. Hey, I love a good comedy, but one does not live on laughs alone. That's another danger of soliloquizing, philosophizing. Which means now is the time for the second and last musical interlude of the video. I'll be back before you can say, pumpkin fluff, schmumpkin schmuff. Go ahead and try. You'll see what I mean. I have a strong feeling this would have looked better in all watercolors. But I'm not going to test that feeling. Oh no, even I have had enough of pumpkin, at least until the morning, when I'll brew up a hot beverage and slip a little seasonal joy in it. I'm talking about pumpkin pie syrup, by the way, in case that wasn't clear. I'm happy to share this autumnal delight with you. Until next time, remember, there are worse things than an addiction to pumpkin spice, like having to hear someone conduct a one-sided conversation for 20 minutes. So go on, indulge, and stay artsy, my friends. I have a strong fle- I have a strong feeling this would have I have a strong feeling this would have looked better in all watercolor. Oh, wow.